What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C Money, and I am back with another episode of the Victorious Sports Podcast. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for coming in and paying attention. Today we got a few things going on. We're talking about WWE NXT announcing that yes, they are finally going live. I'm super hype about it. You know what that means? Wednesday Night Wars, because AEW is also going to be live on Wednesday nights. So we got a few things to talk about. Vince McMahon had talked about this, or he announced it yesterday. So I just wanted to go ahead and, throw in my 2 cents and give you all my perspective of what I think is going to happen and what's going to go on with this new journey that WWE is taking. They have NXT coming up that's going live. They have SmackDown that's going to Fox in the fall. Followed up by Winter is Coming with the XFL. And we'll dabble into that at the very end of the episode. And that's coming in February. So, not including their pay-per-views, but Vince McMahon has a lot on his plate, I think. He and the creative team. And we'll go ahead and jump into this right now. So yesterday, Vince McMahon had announced that NXT is going live on Wednesdays for 2 hours on the USA Network, which I'm super hype about. I can't wait. I think everybody knows that NXT is the best brand of wrestling that they have. Their stars are hungrier. The moves are more impactful. They're high flying. They're everything. It's just, I think, a different. I don't want to say a better quality of wrestling or a higher quality. I don't want to put it on a pedestal, but I just want to. It's just this generation's wrestling, Not only that, they have the best announcer in the business in one Mauro Ranallo, and just having Mauro there, and he's almost like, gosh, this generation's JR. He just lays the story out and it unfolds with his words, and it's phenomenal. And I'm so excited that we get to see that for 2 hours now. You know what that means. You got a flood of wrestling. Monday nights, you're hit with 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. On Tuesdays, for now, we have SmackDown for 2 hours. Followed by NXT on Wednesdays live 2 hours. And you'll have AEW live on Wednesday for 2 hours. That's a whole lot of wrestling. Not including that you can actually run back Raw and SmackDown and NXT on the network now, which is going to be huge for them. For anybody that's working late, or if anyone's going to school, or they just can't catch an episode, now you can run those back on the network, which is going to be fantastic. Now, that leads us to something else. If NXT is going live on Wednesday nights, and I believe it starts September the second or third week of September, and AEW is going live in October on Wednesday nights. You know what that means. It's going to be a Wednesday Night War. NXT going head-to-head against AEW. Now, this is going to be tough for me. NXT is my favorite WWE brand of wrestling. But at the same time, I'm excited to see like this new generation of wrestling. I'm ready to see what the Bucks, Cody, Hangman Page, and Jericho and Kenny Omega are going to bring to us in their style of wrestling. So what do I do? What do you do? Are you going to watch NXT and record AEW? Are you going to watch AEW and record NXT? You definitely can't put both on. You're not going to have one side by side and try to pay attention to both because you won't understand the flow of the show. It's just not going to happen, you know? It's kind of like watching like the NFL network when they have their games on Sunday and they have like 8 different little mini screens on there and you're trying to pay attention to the games and you can't pay attention to the game because you're really just catching plays. You're not really following the flow of one game because it's not focused primarily on one game. So, I mean, shoot, it's going to be tough. For me personally, I think what my move is going to be, since I don't know of any way of replaying AEW, and I personally don't have a DVR system, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch AEW live. I'll catch NXT on the flip side, and I'll have that in my back pocket for Thursdays. Just because I feel like we have an idea of what NXT is going to be because we've had it for a long time. Now, granted, it's only been on the network. And now they're getting 2 hours. Who knows if Vince is going to touch this because it's all been produced by Triple H this whole time and others at NXT. If it's going to live TV, you know Vince is going to want to dabble in that. But Vince also has other priorities. He has the XFL coming up. He's still got his hand in Raw. Still got his hand in SmackDown. Will he even have the time to even put his 2 cents into NXT? Honestly, I hope he leaves it to Hunter or Triple H. I hope he leaves it to Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff, whoever he wants to assign and overwatch or micromanage, whatever it is you want to call it. Pardon me. I'm going to take a sip of water for the working man. Whatever he wants to call it, whoever he wants to like oversee it. I'm sorry, and have them just run the show. But I mean, we know Vince. We know how it's going to be. At the end of the day, it's his bag of cookies. It's his cookie jar. And he's going to reach in and take a cookie whenever he feels like it. He's not going to sit there and wait for dinner. He's not waiting on no midnight snacks. You know what I'm saying? He's going to take what he wants when he wants to take it. And I have a feeling that maybe for the first couple weeks, he's going to go ahead and he's going to have his hands on NXT. Maybe, I don't know who he's going to assign to it at the end, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't at all. I personally think he will. I think we all know in the back of our minds he will, even though we don't want him to, because we don't want him to ruin the magic that they have, because he's not in perspective with this generation. And I think we all think that, and that's just my 2 thoughts. I'm not going to speak up for everybody, but that's just me. Hopefully it doesn't lead down to that. Now, going on Vince and possibly having his hand in NXT, will NXT change since they're going live? Is it going to be more talking, less wrestling? Is it going to be, I don't know, more Raw than SmackDown? I mean, I feel like we get more action in SmackDown than we do on Raw. But what are we going to see change? Because we all know it's not going to stay the same. But I'm so excited that these up-and-coming talent have 2 hours now to shine. I mean, think about it. A lot of people don't know who Pete Dunne is. A lot of people don't know who Keith Lee is, let alone seeing the Undisputed Era on network TV with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, baby. I mean, come on. What if we see, which I think will be really cool, if they bring back former NXT talents from the main rosters, Raw, SmackDown, and have them maybe challenge people in NXT? What if we see Shayna Baszler and her crew go against Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Sasha or Bayley? You can throw out either one of the two. It doesn't matter. Or even out of Charlotte and Becky, it doesn't really matter. But having them challenge them? You send Bobby Roode back down to NXT? And, I mean, he's a hell of a talent. Bobby Roode could have phenomenal matches against people like Matt Riddle, with Keith Lee. I mean, sending Aleister Black down there? What? Maybe even Cesaro? I mean, come on. I think the crossovers are going to be awesome. And once we start to see a setup of how the flow of the show is going to be, and then they finally introduce that to us, because I have a feeling they will. I would, oh my gosh, I would bet the house on it. But that's definitely something to look forward to. Now, with that being said, earlier this week I was listening to the Busted Open podcast. Shout out to Dave LaGreca, Bully Ray, and Mark Henry on Sirius XM. And Mark Henry brought up a good point about Chris Jericho on the podcast, saying that the war had began with AEW when Jericho signed to AEW. And after that, it was just inevitable that AEW was going to clash with WWE. Now, with Jericho knowing that in the back of his mind, being on both ends of the spectrum, in WCW looking up at the lights at WWE, being in WWE, going over to New Japan, Chris Jericho said, you don't really have a choice. Vince is going to take it to a war. When the AEW guys, they just want to do their own thing. They don't care if they go Wednesday nights head to head. They're not even worried about what's going on that other show. But Vince, this is his. He thinks that wrestling is his. And Mark Henry had put it as, like, what would you do if someone reached their hand and put it towards your plate of food? You take your fork, poke them on the top of the hand, you say, hey, what are you doing? Get your hand off my food. So Mark said, Vince sees wrestling as his. Wrestling's his plate. And if you reach onto his plate, it's going to stab you in the hand. And that's something to think about. But Jericho, Cody, Paige, Hangman, Kenny, the Bucks, I'm sure they knew that going in. They knew that Vince wasn't going to just let this ride. But I'm glad, because this is going to cause competition. And competition is what we need. We don't want to see just one show doing all this. It's going to be boring. It's going to be boring. Now, with all that being said, I'm excited for AEW. I'm excited for NXT. I can't wait. Wednesday nights are going to be lit. Can't wait. I don't know what they're going to bring us for AEW. You know, we get these sneak peaks, and you know, we get to dip our toe in the water with these Bleacher Report shows they have, and these pay-per-views that they have. But how are they going to build their characters? What's the storyline going to be like? Who's going to be the first ever AEW champion? I'm excited to see it. On the other end, I'm super hype to see NXT. I can't wait. 2 hours? 2 hours? Come on, y'all. I mean, dang. 1 hour is just not enough. And now we're getting blessed with 2 hours. And that's more people to shine. That's more promos. That's more storylines, more crossovers. Like, it's just going to be so good. Wednesday nights are going to take over Mondays and Tuesdays. And when SmackDown leaves USA and they go to Fox in the fall, and I think they're going to be on Fridays, it doesn't matter. Wednesday night is going to be the hottest night in wrestling. With that being said, earlier today, Vince McMahon and the WWE had announced the 8 teams and logos that are going to be the teams for the XFL starting February 2020. And I'm really hype. I mean, I think we all love football, and having that love of football, knowing that we get to watch football a little bit longer, you know, we have that time of like the year where it's like, all right, football's over. Now it's like all basketball, and it's all basketball up until June, and then we get the draft, and then we're in those dog days of summer. But luckily, the XFL is coming back, and they're going to give us more football throughout the year, which is fantastic. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and announce the teams, the 8 teams that are going to be the 2020 XFL League and for the championship. So, and who knows what we get out of this? We may even get an expansion teams. We may get longer seasons out of this. I don't know. I can't wait. I'm excited for the jerseys. I don't know if anybody knows, but I love jerseys. I collect them, and I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna get one, maybe a couple. But these are the the XFL teams for the 2020 season competing for the XFL championship. We have the Dallas Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, LA Wildcats, the New York Guardians, the first ever team grown from St. Louis, the St. Louis Battlehawks, the Seattle Dragons, the Tampa Bay Vipers, and last but not least, the DC Defenders. Those are your 8 teams going to be competing for the 2020 XFL Championship this year. And I'm from DC, so I'm super hyped that my city gets a team in the league, and I'm definitely going to cop a jersey. I don't know who our quarterbacks are going to be. I don't know what the teams are looking like. I know they've had tryouts over the last 2-3 years. They keep trying to lure in people like Colin Kaepernick, Johnny Manziel. They do have, the kid from Alabama, the ex-quarterback from Alabama, Landry. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his first name. But they have him signed right now. I'm excited. Also, what was really cool about this announcement is on their YouTube channel, on XFL's YouTube channel, they had different companies announce these sport teams. People from ESPN, they had people from Fox Sports News. I thought that was super dope that they had like other companies doing the announcing for the XFL teams, and it just made it look really official, and I thought that was pretty cool. On my Instagram, cmoney.exe, I do sports breaking news videos, and I actually put a new post up earlier this morning about that. So if you want to go ahead and check out what the team logos look like, they're all pretty cool. I think the Renegades probably have one of the coolest logos, and then of course DC. But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up on this. You can find your boy on Twitter at IGotDMVSoul. You can find your boy on Instagram, cmoney.exe, for the scoop breaking news sports videos. I am streaming on Twitch every now and then. I haven't done it in the last 4 days, but I've been doing Fire Emblem and Madden NFL 20 QB1. That one's been pretty fun. Dynamics in that game gotten a lot better. I'm excited for FIFA 20. I'm excited for NBA 2K20 as a Lakers fan. We got Anthony Davis on the cover, so it's time for us to shine this year. And then, of course, my podcast, Victorious Sports Podcast, you can find that on Anchor. You can find that on Google Podcast, Stitcher, and I'll upload it to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Mr. July 4. And till the next episode, everybody, peace and love. I'll catch y'all on the next one.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.